Okay. So it looks like, sorry, this is my first stream, so I'm learning as we go. So. Looks like, yeah, it looks like we got some viewers already in it, and I have pushed the go live button. So we're a few minutes early, but we'll kind of start with the backstory. So anyone who's watching, I am Robert with Tabletop Tutorials. You might have seen we have a few demos or a few how to play videos for MindClash Games up on our channel. You've also probably seen us at all of their booths and on VGC answering a lot of their rules questions. Today, I am going to be teaching Perseverance Episode 1 on Tabletopia over at the Virtual Gaming Convention. I have 3 players that will be joining with me today. I'll be playing blue. You guys just want to introduce yourselves real quick?
I'm Kevin. I'll be playing yellow.
Moises playing green.
Justin from the Board Game Losers playing red.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining and agreeing to do the live stream. Real quick, how much do you guys know about Perseverance?
Nothing at the moment.
Not a lot. The webpage was great on MindClashes. That's as far as I got.
Good. No, I like to check. Some people I know follow their games and try to read up everything. So this is going to be very much in line with what MindClash has presented so far. So you're going to have a thematic strategic Euro of about the medium heavy weight. In Perseverance, you will be playing as leaders of kind of different factions that have formed after the cruise line, the Pearl of the Sea, has crashed on this island. In Episode 1, your objective is to build up settlements on these 4 different zones and to build up defenses to protect these survivors from the dinosaurs that inhabit this island. You will be working throughout the game to gain followers. These will be notated on the dials beneath your player boards. Followers will count as victory points at the end of the game. Whoever can have gain the most followers has the most influence in this new society. In the Kickstarter that goes live on July 7th, you'll be getting episodes 1 and 2. These will be standalone games, have their own board, and will have their own rule books. They will use completely different rules, the same components, and very similar mechanics. Episode 2 will be, in a way, kind of a heavier version of Episode 1, but you will also be able to treat them as a campaign and use certain benefits that carry from the first episode into the second. More of that will be released as the Kickstarter goes. I don't want to give away all of the secrets up front. But that's the theme and kind of backstory for Perseverance. What I'll do is explain everything you need to know to play the game up front, and then we'll get into playing. For anyone who's watching the stream, I will do my best to kind of shift the board around as little as possible. But right now I'm sharing my screen so you can kind of get a zoomed in area of what I'm talking about. Once we start to actually play, I have a second window loaded. I will transfer that over, and that's a big kind of overhead view of the entire game board. So you can see one is playing without half kind of hope that we're in the right view. So just bear with me as I try to adjust the screen. The first thing you'll do on your turn is take a primary action. So your turn consists of both a primary and a secondary action. When you take a primary, you will choose a die from the dice pool. You can pick a die of any color, but if you choose one that is of an opponent's color, you must lose 2 followers. Once you've chosen your die, you will place it on a space for the action you want to take. If you would like, you can spend one of your story tokens. They are the speech bubbles that you have beneath your player board. You can spend one of those to change the die face before you use it. This is important because if a space shows a specific die face on it, you must place a die of that type on that space to take the action. If a space does not show any specific face, then you can place whatever die you would like. So if I wanted to take this action all the way to the right, fortifications, and I wanted to use a die with a hammer, I would be required to place it in one of these 3 spaces. If a space that shows an icon is free and you want to use a die of that icon, it must go in one of those spaces. So I could not place this icon here and kind of block off the free ones.
Sorry to interrupt, Robert. As you're explaining this, are you moving your mouse as well? Because on my screen, your hand is stuck. So when you're saying here, I can't tell what you're actually referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, the blue hand I see is moving.
Yeah, I don't see it moving either.
And are you guys watching through your Tabletopia screen or on the stream?
Tabletopia.
Tabletopia.
Huh. Let me... I'm trying to think if I reload Tabletopia on my end, if it would reestablish the connection. It should. Let me
I can
do that.
see. Yeah, I was gonna say I can see everybody else is moving around.
Let me... All right, let me
Yeah, it just shows you offline.
Yeah.
So maybe if you just rejoin, that'll work. Fix it.
That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, it's this is the one week where all of my computers decided to have one thing or another wrong with them. Let me see if I can jump back in. If it worked, they wouldn't call it technology, right? So. Second, that's loading.
So while that's loading, let me ask you this: are the specific player colored dice are the sides the same on all those? I'm assuming there's no player powers or anything like that.
No, there's nothing like that in the first episode. The second episode does introduce some unique player skills that your leaders can gain. The specifics of that we're still tweaking to make work in both the campaign aspect and in the game.
Right.
There's actually a link pinned to our booth, and if you go to the MindClash website and you go to like the contact and join us or play with us, you can actually sign up to be a playtester on Discord and Tabletopia for episode 2 right now.
Yeah, for that earlier.
Okay, yeah. So anyone who's on the stream who hasn't seen those can do that. Can you guys see them?
Yes, now your hand is moving.
Okay. So yeah, I was just pointing out while I was talking to this action to the right and the hammer spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Did everything make sense what I was explaining?
Yes.
Okay. As far as what you're asking about the die, the only thing that's different is the color. So the faces and the ratio of icons are exactly the same.
Okay.
So now that we've established that, once you've chosen a die, you'll place it on the icon on a space for the action you declared. So once it's your turn, say I declare the action, pick a die, place it on a space. Each space has symbols next to it that show the dinos that must be placed when you take the action. You'll place dinos from top to bottom. If at any point you cannot place, you have to place more dinos than free spaces are available, you'll just ignore any dinos you can't place. Dinos are placed at the top of the board. I'll go over that when we get up to the dino spaces. Blue are tramplers. Greens are raptors. And this die icon means that you'll roll the die to see what dinos come out. If the area has not been attacked yet, you'll roll the white die. Once the area is attacked, you'll roll the yellow dangerous die. And that has more dinos show up than the white one. So with this being a Euro game, most of the actions are pretty straightforward. If you take a rations action, you'll place a die in one of these spaces to gain 2 food tokens.
Mm-hmm.
In the patrol action, you'll place a die to gain a patrol card. I'll explain those after the actions because they're a little, you have some rules as to how you resolve them. For a pub action, you will gain 1 story, and then you'll gain 1 story for every die you have of your color in play. So for every die you have on the board and in the dice pool, gains you an additional story. In the training zone, you can place a die in either column to take 3 different actions from this column. The first one, take a light soldier for free. The second one lets you spend 1 food token to gain a light soldier. The third lets you spend 1 modern resource to gain a heavy soldier. The next one lets you spend 1 story to convert up to 2 light soldiers into heavy soldiers. The next one lets you spend 1 story token to place up to 2 soldiers into defense areas at the top of the board to protect against a dino attack. And the last one lets you lose 1 follower to gain a story. In sorry, I'm getting the names of these. Expansion. It's been a long morning. In the expansion section, you can place a die in politics to convert, to spend 1 food token to convert a white die in the dice pool into a die of your color. When you place the die of your color in the pool, you must set it to the same face as the one you removed. The white die is removed from the game entirely. Then you will gain 1 follower for every die you have in play. And remember, that's on the board and in the dice pool. The other option you have is you can pay 1 story and 1 food token to do that same action of replacing a white die, but this time you can take a white die from the board instead of the pool. The board, you must still replace the die with a die of yours with the same face showing. And you gain only 2 followers for this total. For social aid, you'll place a die and you'll gain 1 modern resource and 1 food token. For the settle action, this is what we call placing one of our houses on these open settlement spaces. When you take a settle action, you'll pay 1 food token to place a settlement marker on an empty space on any zone. Then you immediately gain the bonus that is depicted on that space. For the second option you can choose, you can pay 1 story, 1 modern resource, and 1 food to place 2 settlements. They must go in separate zones, and then you pick one of them to receive the bonus for where it was placed. Last area is protection. Here, you will spend you place a die to receive 2 modern resources. For fortifications, you'll place a die to do 2 actions from this column, and they cannot be the same action. So you can, for free, place one of your trap tokens. These are the triangular tokens in your player color. One side shows one of the two different dino types. The other side shows this kind of wall barrier. You'll place it with the barrier side facing up on an empty dino space up in the defense area. For one food, you can place a dino trap and receive one valor. For one modern resource, you can place these are your wooden pieces in your player color that are little rectangles, like I'm pointing at it red up here in the top right corner. They go on the same shaped spaces up in the defense area. For one story and one modern resource, you can place a wall and gain 2 followers. Now you can do any 2 of these, but you can't do the same action twice. When you gain Safeguard or Valor, these are tracked on your player board and they're spent after a dino attack to gain you combat rewards. We'll talk about those after we discuss a dino attack, but that's what those resources are used for. Those are all of your primary action options.
So,
I know that's a lot, but
just to clarify, so I see the icons are in each of the columns, like the book or the backpack or the tool, the hammer. So
yeah.
I'm assuming if there's not an icon there, like those last 2, for instance, on the hammer, we can't place any dice there, right?
No, you can place a die of any face there.
Okay. So it's not like closed based on the number of players or anything like that.
No, so this is the 4-player side of the board. The other side has fewer action spaces for 2 or 3 players.
Okay.
The only restriction for these open spaces is that if a space above it shows a symbol,
you have to do that
place
first.
that symbol. Yeah, you have to do that first.
Gotcha. Okay.
Only if you're placing that symbol. So you could still skip these and place like a notebook down here, and that's fine.
Right. Okay, cool.
So once you've taken your one primary action on your turn, you'll take a secondary action. You have 4 options for those. Going to zoom out just a little bit for this. Your first option is to take your leader and to place him in one of these 4 zone leader spaces. This will let you take an action, any one of the 3 actions from that area. Well, 3, any of the actions in that area. So if you went all the way over here to sustenance, you would have 3 to choose from. You do not place any dinos. All you do is resolve the action. So you'll pay whatever costs are needed and then gain the benefits. Your leader will stay here until a scoring round. So once they're placed, they stay. Your second option is to take a leader and to place a leader in one of these spaces up in the defense area to guard against a dino attack. Once a dino, they stay there until a dino attack happens. You can never move your leader from one space to another. You can only ever resolve them once their condition to be removed from the board has been met. The next option you can choose is to place up to 2 soldiers from your player board onto defense area spaces to protect. Now you'll notice these spaces all show a safeguard or a valor. Valor are actually the orange triangular symbols. Safeguards are the shields. When you place a soldier on one of these spaces, you gain the reward that's underneath the soldier. If you place your leader there, you gain 2 times that reward. So a soldier, if I grab red, I'm zoomed out too far to grab. Try it again. There we go. If I grab red soldier leader and place them on this bottom safeguard spot, they would gain 2 safeguard for this position. Their soldier would have only gained 1. The last thing you can choose to do is to place influence on one of these officer cards. You can influence are the cubes in your player color. You can place 1 influence for free. It costs 2 stories to place a second influence and 4 stories to place 3 influence. Let me zoom in. Once the spaces on the card are full, you will immediately score the majority for those spaces. So whichever player has the most of their influence on those spaces will gain the reward written to the right. If there is a tie, all of the players gain the reward unless it's a four-way tie. In this case, we consider no one having majority and no one gets any points. In that case, once you've scored it, all of the influence are removed from the spaces to the top of the card. Influence can never be removed from an officer or moved from one officer to another. If you still had influence to place after filling this up, you would continue placing any remaining influence you had. Those are all of your secondary actions. Any questions on those?
Coming soon.
Okay. Sorry. Sometimes when I ask, just let me know if they're not, so I can make sure my mic hasn't been disconnected yet. Always paranoid on talking to silence. So we're almost done with you guys having to listen to me explain stuff. All I have to do now is explain your patrol cards, how a dino attack happens, and then your scoring rounds, and we're ready to start. And those are all much quicker. So let me come over here. When you first set up your game, you draw two patrol cards from your starting patrol deck. Now, sorting cards is a bit of a pain here, so we just have them separated on Tabletopia. They're the top deck, so these will be our starting patrol cards. I will now combine the decks. Shuffle in a second. So when you take the patrol action, you will you'll take one of the two available patrol cards. You'll place the patrol card in front of your player area, and you'll place the number of soldiers that it depicts in the top left corner. If you can't place the number of soldiers shown, then you can't take that patrol. Your patrol cards are resolved at the beginning of your next turn.
When you say place, where do you place them?
Oh, just on the card.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Just place them on the card so you know that they're dedicated to that activity.
Gotcha.
When you resolve a patrol card, you will gain whatever the rewards are for that card. And then, now these starter cards aren't too dangerous to do. But if we look at this saving the captain card up here, you'll notice a few things about this one. Zoom out. You'll notice that, for one, it has two different stages that you can do. So when you resolve this, when you first take it, you'll place your patrol token on the first stage side. When you resolve it, you'll only resolve what's on the left. You'll draw cards based off of the soldier types that you place. There are cards for light soldiers and for heavy soldiers. The biggest difference is that heavy soldiers tend to have nicer rewards, and they don't always have as much of a threat, but for both decks, the better the rewards, the greater the threat. The threats are these yellow, the skulls in yellow circles with a number in a red circle next to them. These cards denote that you have encountered on your patrol a raptor, a dangerous dinosaur. So whenever you have to resolve a threat, such as moving from one stage to the next or resolving a card, you'll take the red die and roll it. If you rolled a number lower than the number shown on the card, one of your soldiers has to die. If it's of a card, you have to lose a soldier of that card's type. So this card would require the loss of a heavy soldier. In between stages, it doesn't matter. Just any soldier on that card has to lose. After you've resolved on a two-stage card your threat, if you have a soldier remaining, you have the option to move to the second stage and resolve this at the beginning of your next turn. The second stage tends to have better rewards. This offers you votes, which get turned into victory points during scoring based off of how many votes you have compared to other players. So that's a very beneficial reward to gain. But you don't have to move on. You can go ahead and declare it complete, just like as if it were a single stage patrol card. Once a patrol card is complete, you'll flip it over and leave it in your player area. These will count for the Chief of Security's scoring condition during a scoring round. So you need to keep track of how many you've completed. We'll go into more of the details of this once someone completes them. Some people use these more than others, so I don't want to take up too much time with the specifics. But do you have any questions about how these work in general?
Not yet.
Okay, good. Go ahead and shuffle these and get everything ready. Okay. So I'm going to get a drink. Then we are all set. So this is the defense area. Yeah?
Oh, nothing.
Okay. So this is the defense area of the board. Down here on the bottom is where you'll be placing your soldiers and your leaders if you choose to send them out to defend. Up here are your dino spaces. This is where you'll place your traps and any dinos that your actions require. Dinos will always be placed in the top left, and then each new dino will be placed in the next free space following the arrows. Once there are no more free spaces available, the end of that current player's turn will initiate a dino attack. So if we go ahead and zoom out so I can get to where I have units. 2 colors, there we go. Just going to kind of seed a quick little demo up here. Sorry, I pull the screen a lot. Red. Green. Okay. So we have a dino attack happening. We'll just pretend that these 2 spaces are filled. In this situation, the first thing we would do when resolving a dino attack is we would look for any traps. If there are traps present, you will roll the blue trap die. That works. Thank you. On the trap die, you'll roll the trap die for every trap present. If you roll this face that shows a dino skull, zoom in a little bit. If you roll the die face that shows a dino skull and a follower count, the dino will be removed regardless of whether or not it matches the trap. The first thing we do is we flip all traps face up, then we roll the dino trap die for those traps. If you roll this face, the dino is removed regardless of whether or not it matches, and the owner of the trap receives this many followers. Whenever a dino is removed, they are given to the player who was able to remove them. So in this case, the owner of the trap would also gain the dino. They'll place it by their player area because we'll use that during scoring or combat rewards. If you roll this side, the dino is only removed if it matches what is on the trap. If you're able to remove the dino, you will gain 3 followers, but only if you can remove the dino. Regardless of whether or not the dino has been removed, the trap will stay on the board. If you roll only, thought that one was the one. If you roll a side that only has followers, you just gain the followers and the dino stays regardless of whether or not it matches. We have no traps to resolve here, so the next thing we would look at are walls. Walls will always take out the dino, will always attempt to take out the dino closest to it in the defense area. So, if we had a wall, we would look at the dino die and we would roll it for each wall to see if it is successful. If you roll a dino skull, the dino is removed and given to the player who owns the wall. They then gain the amount of safeguard shown on the dino die. If the die shows safeguard but no, or if it shows followers, you gain the followers and the dino remains. If it shows just safeguard, one of the sides are that. I can't remember the number, sorry. There you go. If you see just the safeguard, you gain the safeguard and the dino still remains. Walls are never removed, so even after a combat, these will stay for the rest of the game, but they only ever count for 1 dino resolution. So once you've resolved a wall, it doesn't matter if there's a dino behind it, the wall's considered damaged and no longer can effectively keep out a second dino. After you've rolled for your traps and your walls, you go straight into combat. All raptors will kill 1 soldier, and then your soldiers and leaders will each kill dinos. So, the first thing we'll resolve are raptors, and we'll start in each column and move from left to right. All soldiers and dinos attack only those enemies that are in their column. So this raptor has no one to attack, so we'll skip it. This raptor has a leader. Leaders cannot be killed, so this raptor's attack does no damage. If it was a soldier instead, the soldier would be killed. The rulebook states to topple the soldier. However, we can't really topple anything in Tabletopia, so I move them off-centered of the space to show that they have been killed, and I can remember to treat them a little differently during cleanup. In the case where you have a raptor behind another dinosaur, it doesn't matter. That raptor will still get to resolve its attack, and they attack the closest unit to them in the defense area. So even though it can't kill the leader, this raptor will still attack the leader, and this soldier is protected. So this raptor in this attack area would not actually kill any soldiers. Then your units attack. Since there are no soldiers over here to attack, all of these dinos will live. Leaders and heavy soldiers each kill 2 dinos in their column. Light soldiers only kill 1. You'll resolve the front row first. So these leaders each kill 2 dinos. Normally these would go to the players. I'm just setting them in the general supply for now. Green would then also receive these 2 dinos for killing them. This red light soldier, there's no one left, so it does not get to kill any dinos. If all dinos are killed, it's considered a successful dino defense, and you can move straight into scoring your combat rewards. However, we have dinos left, so we must resolve a breach phase. In a breach phase, every dino that survives comes down to attack settlements in that zone's community area. So each trampler will come down and they will remove 1 settlement from the board. That gets returned to the player's supply. Then they are removed and returned to the general supply. Each raptor comes down, and if there are any settlements remaining, they will cause the active player of the frontmost settlement to lose 2 followers. Tramplers and raptors always attack the topmost settlement first, and then they move further down. So if there were 2 settlements here, and you had 2 raptors, the first raptor would attack the top settlement, the second one would then move to the second settlement. They don't both just keep packing on to the settlement closest. Then the raptor's done, and we would resolve the next trampler. However, there are no settlements for the raptor and the trampler here, so there would be no further consequences for players. The active player, however, would lose 2 followers for every dino that made it through in the breach phase. So the active player in this turn would lose 6 followers for these 3 dinos. And we would have to remove 3 Grateful Citizen tokens from this combat round. These are 3 less rewards that are available for us to take during that phase. So let me put these tokens back, and then I'll explain combat rewards, scoring, and then we'll be ready to play. Any questions about all of that so far?
I think once we get around, it'll make a lot more sense.
It does.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, it does. I just find it's easier to explain it up front than to keep stopping.
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that, brother.
Okay, so at the beginning of the game, you would randomly cover up 3 of these 8 bottom combat rewards. You can do that by actually shuffling the decks that are below this tile that are rewards for patrols. They're numbered. So if you shuffle up a deck for one of the soldiers, you can gain random numbers. I'm just going to randomly kind of plop these down wherever my mouse just kind of stops when I drag it. And consider those 3 done. When you do a combat rewards phase, you will find out who had the highest contribution into that defense area. The highest contribution is the amount of units that a player had in the defense area that was attacked. So they're going to count up any traps, walls, soldiers, and leaders that each player had. Whoever has the highest total had the most contribution.
Does that include the ones that are killed or not?
Yep. Killed,
Okay.
living. Yep. It doesn't matter if a trap was successful or not, just units of that color.
Okay.
If there is a tie, ties are broken by the player. Sorry, brain just stopped for a second. If any point there is a tie for contribution, ties are broken by the player to the left of the active player. So if an active player is involved in a tie, they're always lowest in priority order. So once you've determined the order for gaining rewards, whoever had the highest contribution will take one of these Grateful Citizen tokens. They will choose a reward that they want to take, cover up one of the costs they want to spend, pay that cost in Safeguard or Valor from their player board, and then gain the reward. These 2 over here are both production of the zone that was attacked. You get either 1 or 2, depending on the reward you gain. Down here, you'll gain 3 followers for each wall you had in the defense area. This one lets you spend one of your surviving light soldiers. So you'll take a light soldier from the defense area and place him back in your supply. And you'll gain 1 follower for each trampler you killed. This one will let you spend 2 Safeguard to gain 2 followers for each raptor you killed. Here you'll spend to gain a light soldier. And this one lets you spend 2 Valor just to gain 4 followers. Once a cost has been covered up, no one else can take that same reward for that cost. Generally, the costs to the left are cheaper than those to the right. Once either every player has passed on their turn to gain combat rewards, or we run out of Grateful Citizen tokens, the combat rewards phase is done. If you are not involved in the defense of a zone, so if you had no units there, you don't get to participate in this at all. So you'll kind of sit out and wait. Generally, this moves pretty quickly once everyone knows the rewards. But that is the combat rewards phase. Once the combat rewards phase is done, all Grateful Citizen tokens will be returned to their stack. In the attacked zone, you'll remove the tile that covers up the extra dino spaces. So now that defense area can have more dinos before the next attack is triggered. And you will remove the cover that covers up more settlement spaces, because you will now be able to settle further into the jungle. That will give you better bonuses for placement. 1 second. Then each player will retrieve all of their soldiers. Living soldiers go to their player board. Dead soldiers return to their supply. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So living soldiers return to your player board, dead to the supply. Any dinos you had in your play area are returned to the general supply. Leaders will return, leaders from the defense area will return to your player board. Traps are returned to your play area and set aside. You cannot use those traps again during the game, but they will count for the chief engineer scoring option. So you want to know how many you've activated. The zone that has just been attacked now, remember, will forever use the yellow die when rolling for dino consequences of your actions. And then your dino attack phase is done. You'll move on to checking to see if a scoring round has been triggered by the dice pool being empty. So in a 4-player game, there will be 3 scoring rounds before end-game scoring is triggered. In a scoring round, you'll count up how many pieces of each player's color are in a community area. That's going to include any dice, settlements, and a leader. Whoever has the most pieces of their color in a zone will gain that zone's tile. 1 tile shows the production of that zone times 2, so you would gain the production twice. The other side shows that you would gain the votes for that zone. Votes are the number of settlements in the zone plus 2. So in each of these starting zones, we all have, each zone has a vote count of 3. If we were to tie for presence in a zone, we would gain the number of votes divided by 2 rounded down. So if we were to tie right here, right now, we would get 3 divided by 2 rounded down, which is 1 vote apiece. This is randomly decided. So after we find out who gains the tiles for each zone, those players take the tiles into their hands, randomly decide whether they want to take votes or production. We simultaneously reveal them, and then we all gain whichever we chose. Whoever was second in presence will gain the opposite reward, but only half. So 1 production or half of the votes. If there's a tie for second place, no one gains anything. If there's ever a tie of more than 2 for the primary, for first place for presence, no one gains anything either. So you want to be careful about how far you let everyone get close to your standing if you want to gain points for that particular area. After we've determined how many votes each player will gain, we'll look over to the scoring cards. The person with the most votes will gain the first place reward of followers, which in a 4-player game, the first assembly, that is 14. Second place would be 7. And third place, I believe, is 3. If there's a tie, you will add up the tied place's follower count and the place below it and divide that by 2. So if 2 players tied for first place, you would add up the 14 and the 7, divide by 2 and round down. Each player would gain 10 followers. Once that is done, you'll remove that from the game and you'll shift these over, showing what the next one will count at. Now, this is the third player side. We'll flip that to the fourth. In a 4-player game, after the first assembly, we must remove 1 white die from the game. This is to help keep balance of who gets to start actions down, so that way we don't have the same 2 players kind of gets to have an advantage. So we'll remove the white die, and then we'll score our officers. The bottom section of an officer card is now scored. Whoever has the most influence cubes on the card total, so that includes the spaces and the top of the card, excuse me, will gain the benefits of that card. So if you gain the, if you tie, you'll both gain the benefit. If there's ever a tie of more than 2 players, no one gains anything. So in the case of in the first case, the chief mate will give you 1 follower for each cube you have on the other officers where you are not the person in the majority. The chief of security will gain you 2 followers for each patrol card you have in front of your play area. That includes active and completed. The chief steward will give you 3 followers for each die you have in your color paired with 2 settlements. So for each 1 die plus 2 settlements in your color you have on the board, or in play, you'll gain 3 followers. The chief engineer will give you 1 victory point, 1 follower, which are victory points, for each trap and wall that you have put into play so far this game. So that includes traps that are currently on the board and that have already been resolved. If you were second place in your in the majority, you gain half of the reward amount. So you find out your reward amount, then divide that by 2 and round down. After
beside the 4 spaces for the cubes, that's the cost to place a cube, right? On the like in the chief engineer.
The placing cubes are your secondary action. The first cube is free. The second costs 2 stories.
That's right.
And then it's 4 stories for your third. The icon on the right is your reward if you're in the majority for the spaces once those spaces are filled.
Oh, okay.
During a turn. Yeah. Okay. After you've scored your officers, we just clean up after scoring. So all dice are removed from the board, put into a new dice pool and re-rolled. Leaders that are on the community area are returned to your player boards. And then if you haven't shifted the assembly tiles, you'll shift those now and you'll return all of your zone scoring tiles to where they belong. And then you're ready to start the next player's turn. Any questions? That's pretty much everything you need to know. End-game scoring is just a modified scoring round. So you'll just repeat some of these scorings, but they're adjusted to take into account like remaining resources and things like that. Each resource at the end of the game will count as 1 victory point, and each pair of Safeguard and Valor will count as 1 victory point as well. I think soldiers also count as a victory point. So any questions? I know that's a lot, but it'll, I think, hopefully start to click as we start playing.
Oh, I think we're good.
Okay. So, what we need to do, sometimes this doesn't load everything correctly. Can you all make sure that you have 1 food token, 2 story tokens, and 1 modern resource in your play area? Looks like
Yep.
yellow is missing a food
I'm missing
token.
a food token.
Yeah, all tokens are up here by the dice pool.
All
Food
right.
tokens, there are 2 different symbols. It doesn't matter which one you grab. You can just take whichever one you want or like the look of. You should all have a light soldier. Looks like you do, and your leader, and your track should be at 0. For starting for setup, the basic, just kind of recommended first game setup is to place an influence cube on the officer below where your settlement is. So I'll place mine on the chief engineer. These, once you know how to play the game, you can decide where you want them to start. They don't need to match. You can also place your settlements wherever. So it's possible for 2 people to be, I think it's still possible. I have to double check the placement rules of setup, but it's possible in smaller counts for there to be zones that don't include pieces. So the rules state that the player who was last on a boat is the first player, but we can decide by whoever feels comfortable to start. I can start if you want, or if one of you guys feels up for it, you guys can start. Do we have preference?
No, I don't have a preference.
No preference here either.
Anyone feel like taking a swing at it?
Do we need to re-roll all the dice, or are those already?
They were randomly populated,
Okay.
but we can re-roll them. That's fine.
No, that's fine. I mean, if they're randomly populated, that's fine.
I assume they are. I don't pay attention.
I mean, I'll take a stab at it.
Okay, and you are what color?
Red.
Red? Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to switch the stream over to a kind of aerial view.
Okay.
So, 1 moment. Okay. Now, unless I've messed something up, the stream should have a nice aerial view, and we should be able to play. Yeah, okay, the stream is caught up because they're a few seconds behind. Okay, so Red, you are all ready. My throat's starting to dry out, so if I mute my mic, it's just because I need to get a drink and kind of cough a little bit. But please feel free to start your turn, and I will help you guys along and help you if you're about to make a mistake or a really bad move. Because it's a MindClash game. We don't punish you too much, but there are certain instances where some bad consequences can snowball.
So I don't have a patrol card, so I don't need to do that.
Yep.
So primary, I think I'm going to take the speaker and go over to military and take a chance on this top one.
Okay.
And then I'm going to grab.
So the first thing that's important to do is to do the place the dino.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is, I think I rolled the dino die, right?
Yep, that symbol has you rolling the dino die.
So up here, see, so it's going to be over here. So let's roll that. And a raptor. So I'm going to move him to here. back. And then for my reward, I'm going to take 3 light. Well, no, I can't do the same one 3 times, right?
Exactly. It's
Right.
each one you can only do once.
So I guess I'm going to take the free light soldier, then pay the food to get a light soldier, and a story token to get a heavy soldier.
That would be a modern resource token.
Oh yeah.
To the sheet metal.
Yeah. So I'll end up basically with 2 lights and a heavy after I paid that out. And we started with 1 soldier, right?
Yeah, so you should total have 3 lights and a heavy.
Gotcha.
1 solid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I'll put these back in the supply. And I don't think I can do any sort of, not in my hand, in the supply. Secondary action. Now, I get to place 1 cube for free, right?
For influence?
On the
yes,
leaders? Yeah.
Yep.
So, let's go with, let's actually go on the chief mates.
Okay.
So, that's me.
Okay, and so, I mean, obviously there's no dino attack or assembly yet, so it will move. You were red, so it's now green player's turn.
All right. Just grab a hammer. I have to. And then what's next? I resolve these dinosaurs.
Yeah. So looks like you just placed 1 trampler and 1 raptor.
Does it have to be in that order, or do you get to choose the order?
Now it has to be in the order shown from top to bottom.
Okay.
So and they'll start in the top left and then follow the arrows that way. This is to kind of prevent, since someone has placed a trap, anyone from trying to manipulate the order of what goes on that player's trap.
Right.
And then you just resolve your action.
Pick 2 of these.
Yep. Any 2 actions from this column, as long as the 2 actions don't match. So.
Okay, I'll do the first one. What does that give me?
Okay. So you'll place a trap token from your supply on any free dino space. If you want, you can pull the trap tokens into your hand and then choose one randomly and place it face down so that no one can see what you're choosing.
And then do I put it on the next space that would be taken?
On any empty space. So if you want the next one, you can place it anywhere on the board, though.
So they should have like the little barricade looking symbol face up when we place them. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, there's a chance if your opponent knows what you placed, they could choose an action with a different dino coming out in a different order. It's a Euro game, but we don't want you to know everything that's going to happen.
Right.
And then you still get 1 more option from that table.
Okay, I'll use this. And what does that give me?
So you can build a wall. So you'll take one of your green rectangular blocks and you'll place it on any wall space in a defense area that's free, which are all of them right now.
So it doesn't have to be that particular area. It can be any one of the 4 areas.
Yep, any one of the 4. The only time you're restricted to the particular zone that you're in is if you get to do something because it's a reward or a
Hmm.
bonus.
Okay.
So that was your primary action. What would you like to do as your secondary?
I'll influence the leader.
Okay. And there are player aid cards next to everyone's player area, and they are double-sided. So they should have like your turn order and description of like basic attacks, I think, on it. Honestly,
Okay.
I read them and then never really looked at them, so I can't remember what's on them. They're there for you to use.
All set.
Okay, so that was green. It should now be yellow's turn.
All right. All right, I'll get 2 food. Well, first I got to do the dino. Let's see here. Two rations.
Where is it that we go to actually place units up here in the defense and Valor sections? Or
That is
safeguard? Valor?
that is done either as part of one of your options for your training zone action or military action. So you could spend 1 story to place up to 2 soldiers.
Oh, okay, that's the
or-
symbol. Okay,
As a secondary action, you can also place 2 soldiers.
gotcha.
So
All right. I think I will place. I'm just doing influence cube. We'll go ahead and finish out the chief mate here.
okay, so this is immediately scored. Kind of interrupts everything else that's happening. So green has the majority. So green will gain 1 food token. There's no secondary for these, the scoring of these benefits. So green's the only one. We just move all of the rest of these cubes up to the top.
All right.
And then it should be my turn because there's no dino attack and no assembly. So let me see what I want to do real quick.
So at what point in time do we get those cubes back, or do we get those cubes back?
Cubes, once they're placed for influence, they're always there.
Okay.
Thematically, it's we're trying to build up these long-term relationships with the
Right.
officers. So this, I have to read more into the rule books and how we put it through. So this might be something that carries on to the next episode. It'll be interesting once we kind of test out different areas and see what works the best.
But the next, like, if this card filled up again, then to determine influence, that will be based on the total cubes, not just the next 4 placed,
Nope.
right?
Nope, it's only the next 4.
Oh.
Total cubes is during a scoring round.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm going to. I've got influence on the chief engineer. soldier heavy. Let's do this. I'm going to do a politics action. That's just always been one of my favorite actions to do. So I'm going to take, I guess, a backpack, place it here, and then I'll grab 2 tramplers. See, and now I will pay 1 food token. And I will take this hammer out of play. And replace it with one of mine. And then I have 2 cards in play. So I will gain 2 followers on my track. For my secondary action, oh, okay, hold on. I just clicked something weird. Oh, sorry. I don't use Tabletopia often. I just found out I can remove all of the little name bubbles, so I'm not covering up stuff on the stream. I'll do that in just a second. See here. For a secondary action, I'm going to place my leader up in the defense zone, kind of to protect my little settlement. I see there's dinos coming. I will take a safeguard. That is the end of my turn. I get 2 safeguards for placing the leader. And so no dino attacks and no assemblies happen. It moves on to red now.
All right, I'm going to take this speaker die and place it over here under sustenance. And that's going to be, again, rolling the dino die. Oh, goodness. All right, so another raptor. For my reward, I'm going to take the 2 food. And for my secondary action, I'm going to place my leader. What was it at? I'm going to place my leader over here in the expansion valor section. So that's going to give me 2 valor. And that's it.
Yes. Yep. So that is your heavy soldier.
Oh, crap.
Everything else was great. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
So
I believe it's Mego. Green.
Yep.
What are these thumbs up?
those are followers.
And what do you do with them?
They count as victory points at the end of the game. You can gain and lose them depending on outcomes of different events.
So the first action of politics. What's the second part with the check cube?
That says that for
I think we lost your voice.
I think isn't it take one white cube off the board, replace it with the cube of your color, and then for each cube of your color on the board, you gained one follower, I think.
Oh, okay, that would make sense.
I think that's what that means. Don't quote me on that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. About that time. So that icon means that you, for every die you have in play, you gain one follower. So I have 2 die in play right now, so I gain 2 followers for taking that action.
Okay, perfect.
Now, how do you have the 2 dice in play? Is it not green die?
Sorry?
So you said you had two die in play. You talking about green dice?
Sorry, I'm blue. So
Or
I
blue
added
dice?
blue.
Blue in the
Yeah.
pool. It counts. It's not on the board. It's in the pool too.
It's
Okay.
It's both. Yeah,
Gotcha.
on the board and in the pool.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
I recall something happening if I use someone else's die, but is there any bonus if I use my own?
Nope. The only bonus is that remember that die during scoring, the color of each die counts towards the presence of that player. So you can actually use your opponent's die to make sure they don't count towards a certain area, but you'll lose points if you do it. I've tried it. Sometimes I can make it work in my favor. Other times it's a gamble. But there's no bonus for using yours. It's just I think one of the demos, someone filled up the dice pool with theirs, so I was forced to lose victory points to take an action. If all of that makes sense. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer to a simple question.
No, that makes
No, I
sense.
got it. In what scenario? Never mind. I'll do the second one.
Okay.
And then where do I get followers, or how do I track that?
That's on the. You have a little dial underneath your player board.
So a thumbs up.
It's like a thumbs up. So you can either like scroll with your mouse or right click and do the plus minus.
So I should be at 12 now?
Yes, because we all start with 10 followers. And then
Should I roll the my green die before I put it in the pool?
so you did the bottom one, which means you'll take a die, a white die from the board, and your green one you place must match the face that was showing of the one you took away.
Okay.
Well, you did the bottom action, right? With the one story and one food?
Yeah.
So you'll take a white die from the board, not from the pool.
Oh.
Yeah, the top one is from the dice pool. The bottom one costs more because you're placing it right wherever you want to gain presence.
Okay. I have 4 hammers right now. Should I always just rotate it to the side that I need it to be?
You have 4.
He's talking about his die showing 4 hammers. Yeah, you rotate it to whatever side it should be on the board.
Yeah. So you can rotate it. I can't remember. If you push F, it'll just flip it to the next side in sequence. At one point, I had remembered what number was what icon, but yeah, I can't figure that out this morning.
And so this white cube gets removed from the game?
Yep, it's removed from the game.
And that's permanently removed, like even after the next scoring round, that doesn't get put back in.
Yep, these dice count as kind of workers
Okay,
in the thing, and you've converted them to your side.
gotcha.
Yeah, I place influence.
Okay. Then
All right.
still good without a dino attack. I'll put it up there. I don't know if it's relevant to what we're doing, but don't be afraid of a dino attack. They're one of the best ways to gain victory points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't rush it right now because we aren't really defended for one, but they're not necessarily a very detrimental thing to the game.
Okay.
So yeah, it's yellow's turn. Feel free to.
And that's what, one dino to the left of that, and a random one as well? Is that what that is?
Yes. So one trampler and one roll of the dino die.
That is. All right. Trampler.
So that'll go to the right of the second column.
That's
I'll
right.
move it over.
Okay.
Yeah, it zigzags down.
All right. I guess we got another one of those.
Yeah, one of the sides of that first die has 2 trampler on it. So got lucky.
Okay. So I'm going to spend a food. Now, what is the second house with the you don't get the reward? Is that what that is?
Yep. So you can place a second house in a different zone from your first, and then you choose which one of the houses you want to get a reward from. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be your first, just you can't take a reward for both.
Gotcha. All right. So it's one of each. 1, 2, 3. And it climbs up the track, right? So.
You can place it on any free open space.
Oh, okay. So I can be higher if I wanted to.
Yep. Just know that the higher you are, the more likely it is that your piece will get attacked.
Right.
But you get a better reward.
Okay. So I'll just stay right there. That'll be the one I don't use. And over here, I'll do it so I get maybe a warrior. All right. So I will take a light soldier then. It's this one. Then I'll put influence. Let's see. This one. Right. Okay.
Okay. Okay, yep. Sorry, I'm just running through all the turns at the end just to make sure nothing was missed. No dino attack, no that. It's my turn again. I will go ahead and come over here and gain 2 food tokens. And I forgot to put the dinos out first because I tend to just move through things. So let me do that now. That will be 1 trampler and 1 roll of the die. And 2 tramplers. I will place an influence as well. Let's place it on the chief mate. Okay, that's the end of my turn, and we're back over to red.
All right, I am going to. Oh wait, I can use any one. Okay, I'm gonna put this die over here into fortification. It's gonna add a raptor and a dino roll. So a raptor first. Well, I guess I need to put this. Well,
No, it goes right on top of the trap.
okay. And then a dino roll. Okay, another raptor. All right, and then I'm going to place a trap, and then I'm going to pay a food to place another trap and get a valor.
Okay.
So let me take this one in my hand and make sure I get the right one. Okay. So I'm going to 2 of these, and I get to choose. Wait, is it got to go on? I can't put it on top of something that's already there, can I?
Has to be an empty dino space, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and it can be anywhere, right? Doesn't matter which zone.
Doesn't matter which zone.
Okay. Put that one there. And this one. It doesn't. It has to be the next place, right? Or can I choose which spot?
Nope. Any empty space.
Okay. All right. So that's that, and then for my secondary action, I'm going to play. I can place 2 soldiers, right?
Yep, up to 2 soldiers on any empty defense area space. They don't have to be in the same zone.
Right. So I'm going to put my heavy here, get a valor, and actually, let's just do both valor because I'm crazy. All right. So what is? Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just wondering if you were all set.
Yes. Now, what are the? Well, let me ask this question because I don't remember. What is the valor track like? What do these get you?
During the combat reward phase, after a dino attack, you'll spend those to gain the rewards.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be your currency. Right now, you'll be mostly trying to, I guess, buy light soldiers. Or you could spend 2 valor to gain 4 followers. Everything else requires a safeguard
Gotcha.
cost as well.
Okay. Cool.
Keep in mind, your tracks for safeguard and valor are limited. So
Gotcha.
once you have 6, you can't have any more. But yeah, that's nothing wrong with going heavy into 1.
Okay. Cool.
All right, so I'll pay this food. And bring another die in.
And you place the die where?
I'm doing the pool action. Oh shoot. I gotta put one over there, huh? My bad. Let's
Yeah.
rewind that.
Now this requires
A book.
a book, which isn't in the pool. If you spend your story, you can change the face of one of these die
Oh, dang it.
to match.
I forgot about that. Dang it. I forgot about that.
I'll do that.
This is the only demo I remembered to mention it during my explanation. I've never used that action, and I always forget to tell people about it until it's relevant. So, yeah, that's an option. You can switch whichever die you want to whatever face. I think technically it doesn't even say that you have to use that die. Let me double check how we worded it. But you can keep going about what you're doing. I just want to check how we worded the rule.
So do I flip this trap over?
Flip the trap.
Oh, no, it just goes on top of it.
Got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
for the
and-
dino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we resolve it, then we'll flip it over to see whether I picked the right one or not.
Okay. So I use the yellow's die as well. I just get penalties, right? What's my penalty?
You lose 2 followers. Okay, so we have the final version of this rule does state that you can use a story to change the face of a die, and then you must place that die somewhere. So once you start working with a die, you must use it.
Okay, all set. Oh, second action. What's the community area?
Community area is the bottom half of the board. So each zone has its own community area where the actions are and settlements and dice.
What was the benefit again of putting it there?
If you put your leader in a community area, you get to take one of the actions of that zone without having to worry about placing a dino. If you guys would like, I think you all should have access to the rulebook on the bottom left corner. It's the most up-to-date kind of beta version of our rulebook. If you just want to peruse it while other players are taking their turns. We're still going through edits and things like that, but it is there for you to see.
I placed my leader in the battle area.
Okay. And that's full. So we get to do a dino attack.
See, it pays off.
So you're done both your secondary action because that was your leader, right? So we're primary and secondary is done. Correct?
Sorry, you asked something?
You've done your secondary action, right? Because that was replacing your leader.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll resolve this dino attack. The first thing we'll do is we'll deal with traps, which I think there's one under one of these.
Yeah, that one.
That one. Okay, so it is a trampler. So red will roll the blue die for their trap. So it says if the dino matches, which it does, they'll remove it. So that dino goes to their player board, and they'll gain 4 followers. Sorry, that's a little off the screen for the stream, but this is the die that we just rolled, the blue one.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. I forgot that the stream stops right at the top of the board because it's a MindClash game. So takes up some space on the table.
What happens with the trap? Just sets on my board to show it's been used?
For right now, the trap will stay because we want to make sure we count it for
presence
contribution.
Or contribution, yeah.
Yep. So there are no more traps, so we can put this board away, die away. There are no walls to worry about, so we move straight into combat. No raptors, so all of our soldiers are safe. We'll just start resolving from left to right. The red leader will kill this dino, so that goes to their player board. Green's leader will kill the dino in their column, so they can take that to their board. Red, then, their heavy soldier kills both the dinos in its column. And then the light soldier can only kill one dino, so the front dino is removed in that column. All dino attacks are done, and we have one remaining, so we must resolve a breach phase. So what we'll do is we'll take that dino, move my screen a little bit. This dino is going to come down, and it's going to attack. So it's a trampler, so yellow loses their yellow settlement from the zone, so they can return that to their supply. And then, because we had a dino breach, who was the active player?
Green.
Green loses 2 followers because the active player loses 2 per dino that makes it through. This dino is then returned to the general supply.
Red, I thought you had that under control.
I got most of them.
Yeah, we are a little light on the defense. I have already removed 1 Grateful Citizen token because we lose 1 token for each dino that breaches. And then all of that phase is done. We can move straight into combat rewards. So we count up whoever has the most contribution. It's clearly red with 4. Green comes in second with 1. And then blue and yellow are not involved at all in these rewards. So red gets to choose the first. They'll take a Grateful Citizen token and then just place it over the cost they want to pay to take the bonus.
Let's see. Well, I guess the only thing I can do is get some light soldiers. Or that's a light soldier, right?
It's just 1.
Okay.
So whatever you cover is what you're paying?
Yep. So red will pay 1 valor.
Yep.
And then green now gets to take their turn to choose based off of what they have available on their board for Safeguard and Valor. Looking at your board, did you already pay it?
No, I can't pay anything, it looks like.
No, you should have 2 Valor because you placed your leader and you get 2 Valor for placing your leader.
Mm-hmm.
So Valor's the orange. So you have 2 Valor to spend. So you can spend that to gain 4 followers, or you can spend 1 to gain a light soldier.
What's this option here with like dinosaurs?
Yeah, you also have that. This one you could spend 2 to gain 2 victory points.
Per dinosaur that type.
I see.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: like for example, if you didn't have raptors, let's say, if could he still choose to take that option just to deny it to somebody else? I think your mic right.
Can we hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
If Red wanted to, they could spend their light soldier that survived, and they would get 1 follower for every single trampler they have sitting on their board right now.
Yeah, that was my next move.
So I mean, they have that option. Okay, I see. While I was getting it sorted, Green took the 4 followers.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a way to group these tokens so I can just see a stack?
I know. I think if you're very exact with placement, they become stacked. I usually just shift click. I lay them out and I just shift click and then drag them all at once. You don't pay them as a
Right. Well, just
cost,
to count them,
but yeah.
because if I get a bunch more, it's going to be.
Well, you're going to return them during cleanup for this dino attack.
Oh, okay. So they don't stay permanently. Gotcha.
No, they don't stay permanently. They're just for right now.
Gotcha. And the person, the light soldier that I spend is from the defense, not from my player board, correct?
Yep, he's from whoever just survived the combat.
Okay.
And then he is considered dead. So you're essentially going to sacrifice him for this.
Now,
this
does that mean he goes back to the supply, not out of the game?
Back to the supply, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, yeah, I'm definitely going to take that.
Yeah, the way it works are the soldiers that are on your board count as active or hired, and the ones in your supply are ones that you can hire to use later.
Gotcha.
So we're still working on the terminology to kind of make that clearer to understand.
Gotcha. So that's the action I took, and I sacrificed him, and I added 5 to my total, which puts me up to 19.
Yep, sounds about right. And then Green can take another action if they can, but I think they're out of safeguard.
I thought I only got 1. How many do I get?
You got 2 safeguard, and I think you spent them both on this reward.
Yeah, but
I got 2 valor.
That's what I meant, valor. You got 2 valor, and the reward you chose cost 2 valor.
how many rewards was I eligible for?
As many as you can afford. So this is where you're spending your valor and safeguard resources, kind of the amount that you gained.
Yeah, if you want to change yours, like to get a light soldier or something instead of doing your 4, like you can change your move to whatever you need to change it to.
That's cool. We'll keep it.
All right.
Yeah, your safeguard and valor don't reset, so you'll carry that over. So sometimes it's beneficial just to save it to carry it to the next one, because you only get those by placing units. But so yeah, if green is passed, so red can continue taking rewards until we run out of tokens or they run out of resources or want to pass.
Yeah, I'm just going to take 1 more to take the light soldier, and then I'll be done.
Okay. So red is done. We'll reset all of the grateful citizen tokens. And all of the dinos that you have on your board get returned to the general supply.
Okay.
leaders will return from the defense area that was just attacked to player boards.
Okay.
My blue leader is going to stay because that area was not attacked yet. But the red and green ones over here do return, and any living soldiers get returned to the player board, and any dead soldiers get returned to to your personal supply.
Gotcha. Cool.
And then I have already uncovered the bottom row of the dino area. So now we can have 4 more dinos in this area before a dino attack is triggered.
Sorry, what happens with my leader? I take it back?
Yeah,
Mhm.
he comes back to you at this point. And the dino on your board can get returned to the general supply.
What about the trap?
The trap will get placed in your player area in a spot or a way for you to know that it's been used. I usually leave that face up.
Right. I'll just put it down here with my resources, so it'll be way away from the rest of them.
Yep. And then green will just remember to move your Valor token over to 0. So we keep track that you don't have it at the moment. And I have removed the cover, so we can now expand the community area of the expansion. We can settle further into that jungle. Whenever we place a die here now, we must roll that yellow die. The dino attack is done. Nothing else to do. We don't need an assembly, so now we move on to the next player. I think it's yellow, but I always forget who's done what.
All right. Well, a lot just happened. So,
It did. It did. As this goes, especially with more experienced players, it's rare that an attack has no one involved, because usually someone's trying to throw someone in to just gain a chance to get rewards.
right.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure green triggered that with yellow's die, so it would be yellow's turn.
Yeah.
Just because they're next in play order.
Okay. So I'm going to use blue's dice to go here. It costs 2 followers. And we're going to put us a dino out. Then I'm going to spend my story token to turn 2 light soldiers into heavy soldiers.
Nice.
Okay.
And as my next action, I'm going to put out those 2 as my secondary action.
Well, you get to do 3 things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I get to do 3 of those things. That's right, I do.
Yeah. Just not the same one more than once.
That's right. Let me get another. I guess I'll get a light soldier back. I'll spend a food for the other one.
There we go.
Then I'm going to put out my 2. My secondary action, put out 2 of my heavy soldiers. Put 1 here.
That works.
And the other one right next to it.
Okay, so you'll gain 2 valor for that.
All right.
Okay, now I'm stuck taking a die for my turn because no dino attack or assembly happens. So we move straight to me. I am stuck taking a die from another player. I don't want to give green too much of a majority in this area. So let's see. Let's be strategic. Let's gain me soldier. This. So,
That was one of each on the dino.
yes, it is.
Trampler, then.
Thanks. Yeah, I was trying to see which one I wanted to choose.
Yeah,
Well, I
No
tend
problem.
to stay pretty zoomed out so I can see what everyone's doing.
no, they're up there, so you're good.
Thank you. So I'll take my light soldier for free, and then I'll essentially do exactly what Yellow did. I'm going to pay a food for a light soldier, and I'll pay a modern resource for a heavy. Actually, not going to pay the food. Paying the story to convert my 2 lights into a heavy. So, very similar. Both of these. Here. And then as my secondary action, I'm going to place both of those. I'm going to place one here, one over here. Go like that. So I gain 1 safeguard and 1 valor. That's my primary and secondary action. So no dino attack or assembly just yet. We move to red.
All right, I'm gonna go place this over on the control. So let's do the dino die first.
Just a heads up, we've all had 2 turns. We should have an assembly in just a turn. We've got about an hour left before I got to get ready for the next demo. So I want to at least make it through a scoring phase, and then we can keep playing until about 12:40 or so, 45 that time, so I can get everything sorted. If that works for everyone.
Sure thing.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm looking at like 4 screens at a time, trying to keep things going and keep myself sane.
All right, so now I do the patrol. So I pick one of these 2, right?
Yep, whichever one you want.
And what is the yellow card? Or
So that just says you're going to draw cards based off of the distribution of soldiers that you've placed. So you're going to draw, let me get the exact one. I'm sorry, my brain's a little fried from all of these. I want to make sure I say it correctly. So when you do a patrol card, draw a challenge card for each soldier currently on the card, depending on the soldier type. So for each soldier, you'll draw a card based off of its type. So this requires.
How do I place the soldiers? Do I just pick however many soldiers, or is that just that patrol action? Just place a soldier.
No. So that patrol action is take a patrol card, and then in order to complete taking a patrol card, you have to be able to place the minimum number of soldiers required, which for these are 2. You can place more. So if you wanted to put 5 soldiers, that's allowed. You'll just get 5 cards. You'll get them for each soldier.
Gotcha. And I take that into my player area?
Yeah, you'll place it in your player area, and then when you take a patrol card, you'll immediately replace it with one from the deck. So I got that taken care of.
I'm going to put, let's put 3. Now, does it make a difference if I put a regular soldier or a heavy soldier or elite soldier?
No, as long as you have a total number of soldiers that match the requirement.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to put 3 on that one for me. All right, so that's my primary. And my secondary is going to be going to place my heavy. Well, no, let's do that. Let's do my my leader into an area.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to place my leader over here to the far right. And so I get to choose either one of those two, either salvage or fortifications, right?
Yep, you can choose either one.
All right. I'm going to go, I think, this time with salvage. So I'm going to take 2 of those. And now, when does this card resolve? Immediately?
At the beginning of your next turn. So your
Okay.
turn order structure actually goes resolve patrol cards, then do your primary.
Oh, yeah. That's the first one. That's right. Okay, cool. That's my 2.
Okay, and so green will do their turn, and then we're going to trigger an assembly, if not also a dino attack, depending on where they go.
I'll grab the dinos for you.
Thank you. I don't think I have much of a choice for anything else.
So you went into the
Protection.
protection, okay.
Do I get whatever I cover?
Yes. And then with your leader, you get 2 of it.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, and so we don't score a dino attack, but now we score a assembly, also known as a scoring round. So we'll start by figuring out presence from left to right. So in the sustenance zone, we have a 3-way tie. So nothing happens. No one gets anything. In training, yellow has the majority with 2. So yellow can take the training card into their hand. For expansion, it's another 3-way tie, so nothing happens for this one. For protection, we have a 3-way tie, so nothing happens here. So this was a very tied. I mean, everyone double checked to make sure I'm not overlooking anything, but it looks like a very evenly distributed presence across the zones. So all we need to do is have yellow decide which side of their tile they want to choose. You can either choose the production twice, which would give you 2 light soldiers, or you can choose to take the votes, which would be 4 votes.
So I'll take the votes.
Okay, so normally you would have a lot of, well, not normally, usually you would have more than one player with a tile, so we would all reveal them right now. Yellow can just return their tile to its place and then give themselves 4 votes on their bottom of their player board. Now we will score assembly tiles. I'm pretty sure yellow's the only one who got any votes in this whole assembly time. So, because did anyone do any placements that got them votes when they built settlements? No, only yellow built. So yellow, you'll gain 14 followers. The rest of us, we didn't actually place. No one voted for us, so we gained no followers in this assembly. Now we will score the officers. So for the chief mate, green is green has the most. So green is going to gain this reward. For each officer where green does not have the majority, they are going to gain one. They're going to gain 1 follower for each cube they have on an officer where they do not have the majority. So they have 1 cube on the chief engineer. They do not have the majority there because they are tied. So they will gain 1 follower. Oh, sorry. I always misread that. You're tied for majority. That counts as having it. So you don't gain the following. So I always pull up and double check the reading to make sure I do things correctly. So no followers for this one. For the chief of security, yellow. Did you choose any patrols?
No.
No. Okay. So you would gain 2 followers for each patrol, but you don't have any, so you won't gain any there. For red and yellow, you will each gain. You're tied, so you will each gain 1 follower for a set. Each set you have of 1 die and 2 settlements in your color. So for yellow, that gives you 1 follower. For red,
None.
you're short 1 settlement. Yeah. Blue and
is
green
that
are
1
both.
or 3?
Oh, it's 3. Sorry, zoomed out. For the chief engineer, you're going to gain 1 follower for each trap that you have, trap and wall that you've placed in the game. There are no walls. Did blue or green place a trap out yet?
Yeah, I put 1 out a while ago.
Okay, so you'll gain 1 victory point or 1 follower. Victory points, the same thing for that. If anyone was in second place, so unfortunately for the chief mate, oh no, wait, this is not the same thing. So for second place, we all gain the same thing. We all have the second most, so we will gain half of the reward. So, well, none of us qualify because there are no cards where we have influence and we are not tied for the majority or have the majority. So we're done with officer scoring. Now we'll do cleanup. All leaders in the community area return to the players' boards. All dice, make a new dice pool, and that's re-rolled. I will shift the assembly tiles and 1 white die has to be removed from the game. Okay, like we got that.
I think that's all the dice.
Yeah, I got the last one down here.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. So now we just need these re-rolled. And we should be all set. That is a scoring round. Do you guys have any questions about how that worked? Sorry, there's a few things I had to double check because I am feeling the fatigue of convention demos.
No, that was good.
Cool. Well, we are ready to continue. After an assembly, you just move on with the next player. So it would be Yellow's turn. And we would continue going for two more assemblies.
When do these two cards get used? Teamwork and the other one.
Teamwork. Oh, the patrol cards. These are when you take a patrol action. That's in the sustenance zone.
I see.
You'll
That'll-
gain it when you take the action, and then it's resolved at the beginning of your next turn.
Now, that resolve, that's not an action or anything. You still get your primary and secondary too.
Correct.
Okay. Because that's fixing to happen when I take my turn.
Yep.
Now, dinosaur attacks, that occurs after the active players finish with their turn?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then. I guess we'll pub crawl then. That gives me a story token. And what's the rest of that?
You
You get a story token for each die of your color.
Correct. That is in play.
Okay.
So on the main board or in the dice pool.
Okay, so that'd be one extra then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Don't let green take that action.
No kidding. All right. So that's that. Yeah, we're going to be by secondary action. We're going to, oh man, got the Raptors going on, don't we? I'm going to put my leader up there. Be here. Now, does the Raptor, they kill heavy soldiers or?
Raptor will kill both types of soldiers.
Okay.
Only leaders are immune.
Okay. And I may want to do, well, they go away anyway, so I'll just leave it there.
And so you get the pub action, you place your leader, should be ready to resolve a dino attack.
Right.
Does anyone feel comfortable enough to run this dino attack instead of me? Or I can take the lead.
Probably.
I'm going to say that delay means no one's comfortable.
That's what I was just about to say until I heard a couple of mics chime in.
Yeah. I'm like 50%, so you better do it.
No worries. So the first thing we need to do is check for traps. let me change my angle. I don't think there's any traps in this zone.
Not in that one.
So we'll skip that. Then we would resolve any walls, but there are no walls, so we just move straight into combat. We resolve raptors first. So the raptor in the left column attacks the closest unit in theirs. The leader is immune, so we move to the next. That's another leader. They're immune. This heavy soldier for yellow, though, he is going to perish. So one fatality so far.
Oh no!
Now we move on to our actual units attacking the dinos. A leader kills 2. So green is going to take both the trampler and the raptor in front of their leader. The yellow leader is going to take the raptor in front of them, but then the yellow heavy soldiers are also going to kill both of the dinos in both the columns in front of their heavy soldiers. So they'll take all 4 of those and put them in front of their player board. Say if you want to shift, click, and drag, you should be able to take those all in one motion. Yeah. Just because I'm lazy, so I tend to find the quickest way to click as little as possible. Now that we've resolved that, we will move straight into combat rewards phase, because there are no dinos that survive to attack the settlements. So yellow had the most contribution. Then it's tied between green and blue. I think yellow is the active player, which would mean that the tie is broken by the player to their left or the next player in turn order. So we'll choose rewards going yellow, blue, green. So yellow, whenever you're ready. And keep in mind, yellow, I'm looking at your player board. You should have 2 safeguard. 2 safeguard as well as 2 valor. Because your leader would have gotten you 2 safeguard when you placed them.
So what is the question mark here?
That is that's 2 of the production for the zone that was just defended. So in sustenance, you'll gain 2 food tokens.
Okay. So for that, it'd be better to do the first one because you don't get any extra for doing the second one.
Yeah, most
Cheaper.
of these, the first one's where you want to go because it's cheaper.
Right. That would be here.
Now, in-game points, for example, does food and salvage count the same for points? It's just tokens, or do they have a weighted value?
No weighted value. At the end of the
Okay.
game, every soldier and resource that you still have count for 1 follower, and every safeguard and valor pair count as 1 follower.
All right.
Okay, so yellow has taken theirs. I will grab my mine. I have 2 of each. I didn't kill anything. I also no, I have food. I will pay a safeguard to gain a light soldier.
Now, in the bottom left-hand column, the wall, is that 3 points for each wall, 3 followers for each wall in that area, or anywhere on the board?
In the area attacked.
Okay.
Yeah, everything for the rewards counts just for where you were just working.
Gotcha.
Right, I got a soldier.
Okay, well, so it should move up to back to yellow.
Now this first one here, does that mean I kill a soldier or for a fallen soldier? Which one is that?
You have to kill a light soldier that survived, and so you don't have any light soldiers in that defense area, so you wouldn't be able to take it.
All right, I'll get more food, I guess.
Okay.
You don't have to spend it though, right? You can choose to pass.
Yeah, you can choose to pass if you don't want to get any of the rewards that are there.
Okay, then I will pass.
Okay.
I don't see anything else that's beneficial at the moment.
No, I actually randomly covered up some of my favorite rewards. Like this one lets you gain for all dice and settlements you have in that zone. This one lets you gain for all the soldiers that you lost. And this one lets you place a settlement in the in the community area right below where you just protected.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Like I said, I just kind of threw my mouse in a direction and let go. So that was my random, and I covered up some of my favorites. But for me, this hasn't been taken yet, so I will spend all of my valor to take four followers. Place a token there. And then it is back to Green's turn.
Actually, never mind.
Get one more gun
Okay.
and call it a day.
Okay. So
Think you drop.
hopefully I'm back.
We can hear you now.
Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, all dinos on your player boards will return to the general supply. All grateful citizen tokens are cleaned up and returned to the stack, which I was doing while talking to a dead Mike. All living soldiers and your leaders are returned to your player boards. Any dead soldiers are returned to your supply. The tiles that cover up the extra row in the defense area and in the community area are removed. And then once we're done with that, we resume with the next player's turn. Well, you would check for an assembly, but we just had one, so we don't have to worry about that.
So are you next? Just blue, or is it me? Red.
I think yellow just went, so it should be me, blue.
Yeah, it's Blue's turn. So I have a basic question.
Yep.
Other than just for doing it, when you're moving your dinosaurs that you killed to your player board, it doesn't really do anything when it's on your player board. So would you not be the same just to move those into the supply
So
and
if
avoid the extra step?
so if you wanted to take the one of these top 2 rewards on the right column, you need to know how many of each dino you had killed. So this is how we just have it listed for you to know.
That makes sense. Okay.
So all we need, once yellow's done cleaning up their soldiers and their leader from the defense area will be set to start. I'll go ahead and get started on my turn. I think I'm going to settle. So I'll place my die down here. And I have to roll the dino die. Because this area has been attacked before, I have to roll the yellow dangerous die. So I'll roll that now. And I got the worst roll you can get. So I have to add a raptor, then a trampler, and another raptor.
And that's before you take the action?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Even if I would have filled up the area, I would still get to do my actions, but this limits you from being able to place a trap knowing what's about to go down. So I will place, okay, 1 food. And I'll place my settlement actually in the same zone. But I'm going to choose the one that gives me 2 votes as the bonus. So I'll reflect that on my track. And then as a secondary action, I will place 2 soldiers up here to defend where I just placed stuff. I'll place them both on safeguard locations. Valor. Gain those. And that is the end of my turn. No dino attacks and no assemblies, so we move on to red.
All right. I am going to. I guess I'll. All right, cool. I'm going to take a hammer and place. Make sure I get the right one. Yeah, this one. Take a hammer and place in training. And let's place. Oh, wait, no. Not a hammer. Sorry, not a hammer. That's not what I wanted to do.
Nope, no worries.
Let's take a speaker. There we go. Speaker. Place in training. So that's going to be the dino die randomly for there, which is going to be another raptor. I'm just going to go here. And then for my actions, I'm going to use a story token to place 2 units first. So I'm going to go. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Hold on. We got to resolve my patrol card first.
Yes. Good catch.
So that's 3 of these yellow deck cards from the yellow deck over here by the patrol section.
So yeah, what you'll do is you'll draw 3. Your card only shows 1 on the patrol, so you only get to keep 1 of them. But you get to draw 3 to see which one is the one that you want the rewards from.
Are they all discarded, or do they all get shuffled in? What did I discard?
Is it? Oh, discarded versus shuffled in. They go into the. I think they just get reshuffled. Let me double check the wording.
I didn't know, like, if I needed to draw them to my hand in order to look at them and decide.
Yeah, no, let me double check. Sorry, I see so many different versions of rule books. I like to make sure I say the right thing. It says discard all drawn cards, reshuffling the deck. So yeah, you just place them back into the deck and reshuffle. So it doesn't matter if they're in your hand or everyone sees them.
Gotcha. All right. So in that case, this is what my options are. I'm going to choose to take. I'm going to choose to take the far right card. So that's a food, a story token, and 2 followers.
So for both of these cards on the right, you will lose a soldier unless you can roll a 6 on the red die.
That's fine.
I'm just letting you know. Yeah.
Oh, because that's
Yep, because they have a threat, and these are light soldiers, so they're not as good at handling threats.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
so
yeah.
Roll. All right. So now I lose it from the 3 that I put on the card, or 3 from my player board.
From the card.
From the
3
card.
from the card. Yep.
Okay. So it goes back to the supply.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I take the food and the story token and 2 points. So there's another food, another story token, and 2 more followers.
Yep. And then these 3 cards get returned to the deck. I'll go ahead and do that for you, so you don't have to scroll back over.
Now, what happens to the other 2 soldiers that are on the patrol card?
So, if this was a 2-stage card, you would have the option to go on to the 2nd stage. Since it's not, they just get returned to your player board.
Okay.
Your card is then flipped over and kept in your play area, so you know you have 1 completed patrol. And then you would now take your primary action.
Gotcha. Okay, so that was, getting back to that, that was going over here to training. So the 3 things that I get to do, I'm going to place 2 soldiers.
Okay.
As with a story token. So I'm going to spin that. And I'm going to place 2 soldiers. I'm going to place, and it's anywhere, right?
Any empty space in a defense area. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to place 1 in protection in the Valor spot, which is going to give me another Valor. And then secondarily, I'm going to place... I'm going to place a light soldier over in sustenance in the safeguard spot.
Okay.
So that's going to give me 1 in safeguard. So that was the 1 action. I'm going to spend a salvage to get a heavy, and then I'm going to actually spend another story token. No, I'm going to spend a salvage to get a heavy, and then I'm going for the 3rd one. I'm going to spend a story token to place 2 more. Oh wait, no, I've already done that. I can't do the same thing twice, can I? Then I'll just take the free light soldier.
Okay. That tends to be one of the 3 options everyone chooses.
Yeah. And then for my secondary action, I'm going to place my hero, my leader in. Let's put it over here under training in the far right under. Safeguard.
Okay. And so,
3.
yep, okay. 2 of those safeguard, 2 safeguard for that.
Yep. Now, what's this on the bottom? What's the...
Those, when you get votes, you'll move that along that tracker.
Okay. That's right. Okay. That's my actions.
Yep. So now we're over to green.
All right.
So let's do this. Let's have green resolve their turn. That should put us at about close to about the time we need to end, and then I'll have plenty of time to answer questions and explain about how the Kickstarter or whatever other questions you guys might have, if that works for everyone.
Yep.
Sure thing.
Okay. So go ahead, green. Take your turn.
So since there's no books, I can use a tool for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You could also, if you wanted to use a book, you could spend a story to change one of those die, remember?
No, we're broke.
Okay.
What dinos does it need?
Oh, let me scroll in.
One blue and a die.
Yeah, trampler and a roll. You'll have to roll the yellow die because the area has been attacked.
Another trampler? Is that what that is?
Yep. Yeah, you got the one good one that's on that die.
And I placed influence and I'm done.
Okay. And so let's do the scoring's going to go a little weird because it's not actually the right time, but let's just go through what would happen if we did in-game scoring based off of where we sit right now. Just so we can see the conditions. So normally we would do a whole assembly scoring round like we just did a few turns ago, where we count up our presents, we do the assembly scoring tiles, and then the officer scoring. And then for the end game, what we're going to start with is tallying up the contribution against all of the zones. So we're going to find out who is currently contributing to every single defense area the most. Whoever has the most contribution, since this is a 4-player game, will receive 11 followers. So right now, we only have 2 of us. So there's 3 contributions up here. I have 4 for my total. Red has 3, and I see 1 green piece. There might be a trap somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't think so, though.
Yep, there's a red trap right here.
Oh, it's right there. They're the hardest things to see. Oh, and a green one. So, Red and I are tied. The current player is green. So we break the ties to the players left. So I would be the most in contribution. No, that's not how that works here. My brain's getting ahead of itself. Because we are tied, we add up the first and second place and divide by 2, rounding down. So red and blue would both add up 11 and 6. for 17, divide by 2, round down, we would get 8 followers apiece. Green would be in second place, so they would, or third place, because second was taken, so they would gain 3 followers. Yellow would be in last, and they get 0. Next, we would then gain 1 follower for each food, modern resource, soldier, and story token that we still have in play. So soldiers that are on the board and on our player board, and then any resources we still have.
But not the traps, right? Or the traps count too?
No, sorry, traps don't count for this.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep. Your traps count for when you're scoring the chief engineer.
Okay, so that's 12 for me, I think. Counted that.
And then once we've added all of those up, we gain points for each pair of Safeguard and Valor. So like I have 2 Valor and 1 Safeguard, so I would only get 1 point.
And I've got 3 and 3, so that would be 3 points.
Yep. And then we just find out who has the most followers. Whoever has the most wins. In the case of a tie, the winner is the player with the most soldiers, both on their board and on the main board. If you're still tied after that, you both share a victory.
Aww.
So, like I have 30 followers. I think yellow is 35. I'm zoomed too far. I think red has 40 something.
44.
Yeah. So, like, I think red has a pretty clear lead here.
That looks like 14 to me. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if green was tallying everything up as they were going through.
If it was Damon, Kevin, you know that would be a 14.
You got it.
But that's how in-game scoring would be. So it's like I said, it's kind of like just running an assembly where you're just counting up everyone's standing in the board and then finding who has the most and getting points based off of that. Oh yeah, thank you for stopping by. We'll see you at one of the later demos. Did you guys have any questions?
I mean, I don't know about questions. I just got a couple things like comments about the game, like for purposes of feedback, since it's a prototype.
Oh yeah, please.
I mean, and this may already be a thing, but are in the final version, are the traps tokens going to be bigger than the dinosaur tokens so that you can see those easily underneath them?
So in the I have not seen the most recent pre-production copies, or we're not that stage yet, but the most recent prototypes. In the one that I have in my house, it's pretty clear when there's a trap under it. It's Tabletopia. They kind of are hard to see.
Right.
But no, visibility is a big issue. We're making sure everything's clear. As far as the dinos themselves, the way that we're treating it is that in the Kickstarter and in retail, you'll be able to buy the game with the dinos as standees. Each game will have the 4 leaders as miniatures just to help them stand out on the board. As cardboard standees, they kind of get washed in with all the soldiers.
Right.
So those will be minis, but the dinos will be cardboard. That'll keep the costs down in general. Then, like how in Anachrony you can buy the exosuits as miniatures if you want them, there will be a separate pack that will have all the dinos as miniatures.
So the soldiers will be minis as well?
The soldiers will be cardboard standees.
Oh, okay.
That way you can... in Tabletopia, your quantities are kind of limited, but in the rulebook, you're allowed to switch out your stands with other soldier types. If, say, you keep converting all of your lights directly into heavies. So you can have more than just, say, 6 or so heavy soldiers. But as far as the dinos go, in the Kickstarter, there'll be a pledge level to just combine it and get the minis right with your pledge. In retail, the plan is to have that just as a separate add-on, like the exosuits for Anachrony. So if you don't want to spend the money or don't want the extra miniatures right off the bat, you don't have to get them. But yeah, any other comments or questions?
So the purpose, so at the end of the game, as far as like with the chief mate, the chief security, all those chiefs, what is the purpose of having those cubes, after you score it, as far as filling up the track 4 times, what is the purpose of having those there?
So normally right before we do in-game scoring, we would have scored all of these in an assembly. So you would have just gotten a whole bunch of points from these. Well, hopefully gotten a whole bunch of points for these, and then you would have gotten the points we just went over.
So those final points are based on the total number of cubes, not just the ones that are on the track.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I felt like if we didn't score those again, that was going to be kind of like a waste.
Nope. Yep. When you score them in a scoring round, it takes into account every cube on the card.
Gotcha.
And then we're still playing with ways as to how, when you put the 2 games together as a campaign, everything will carry over.
Right.
I'm sure MindClash will leak some information out throughout the campaign, but the way that the officers interact in the first episode and the second episode tends to change. From what I was going through and looking, and there's a lot of parallels when you start playing the second version, as you'll see as the Kickstarter's released, or if you sign up to playtest. There's a lot that's the same in the second episode, and there's a lot that's different that kind of zooms the game out from being just here on the shore to being more of the island, and you're kind of taking a step back. I'm getting a little excited. I've been looking forward to this game over the years. I've watched it kind of grow.
Is the second game a completely new board? Is it going to be a completely different game you have to purchase?
So the second game is a completely different board. It uses all of the components of the first game, though.
Okay.
They will come together as episodes 1 and 2. So you're buying pretty much 2 games together, but the only thing that's different is like the board and maybe some other smaller component. Like you might have cards you don't use in the first game that are only for the second. There'll be a separate rulebook, because whereas the same mechanics carry over, they get heavier. Each game is going to progress up in weight. So that way, if you play them in sequence, it's like you're adding on a heavier version of the game you just played, through.
Okay.
Yeah. Was there another question?
Well, I was just going to say, like for a tiebreaker, I think you need to go 1 more level deep, because I don't know how often that happens, but for me personally, if I have a game and you go like 1 level deep and they're like, it's a shared victory, it kind of feels like crap.
Yeah, I'll pass that along. I don't think I've seen too many instances where you've had to even get to that tiebreaker.
Okay.
But obviously, I don't have all of the playtest data. I will, I always pass all of my information straight up the chain of command.
Yeah.
And we'll let them know.
And the only other thing I would say, like for scoring, is, and I don't know, it may not be possible because of balance, but I think it would be more strategic and fun, at least for me, if like food and story tokens and modern salvage and they counted for at least some variability of points at the end, so that the tokens weren't like, it just didn't matter about the tokens, that it would make it more strategic as to what I actually went for options wise, in each location, knowing that towards the end of the game, maybe I'm not going to be able to spend them, but I can get them for points.
Yeah. Give me a second. Hold on. I want to check a.
I agree with that. It seems like the storyboard tokens should be worth more than the food tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Give me a second. Oh, sorry.
It was a
Clicking
fun
on
game, though.
things.
I definitely love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, it's been my most looked forward game since I was first approached with it to start playtesting a couple of years ago. This game's taken the longest to make out of every MindClash game. I got my first rulebook to start playtesting in, I think, about the end of 2017.
Oh, wow.
That's how long we've been working on just trying to balance this out. If you guys, I'm sure you're familiar with MindClash's games, we really try to make sure it's a very polished, game.
Yeah. I don't think I've had one that long, but I've done some playtesting for Pandasaurus games too, and it's amazing how long it takes to get all that kind of sussed out to make sure that, to really get it balanced.
Yeah, I'll double check. I'll pass up the scoring thing. I think we kept everything pretty even just to not make scoring too complex since there's so many other moving parts.
Well, and I would even say, since you're talking about layering on things, maybe in a later story that changes those values to make them worth more or less, even thematically.
No, that's what I was actually just checking was the rulebook for the next episode to see how we do. And they do change how the in-game scoring works, but not too drastically. But like I said, I'll pass that up and we'll see how it goes. I always say this game right now is in final with quotes. It's still subject to change as we get more people getting eyes on it, more, feedback, more, more comments.
Right.
If you guys are interested, we've posted in the booth. We're doing playtesting on Tabletopia for episode 2, just started a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. So you can fill out a form and join the Discord channel and actually feed all of your comments straight to MindClash and actually talk with Victor and Richard on what you think.
Now, is there the one that's at the booth? Is that a different form than just the normal form that's on the website? Because I filled that one out earlier.
I think, the one that we linked in the booth earlier. If you were the one who was talking about joining, I think you filled out the right form. It was like /play with us or join us was in the URL. Yeah, that's it. You should get an email shortly. If you don't, shoot me a message and I'll give you a direct link. I try to have everyone go through the link so they get your name to credit you in the rulebook. If I just throw you into the Discord, I worry that you might get missed getting credit for, helping us out.
Okay.
No, I did fill out the form over there. I hadn't seen an email, but I'll definitely.
It's the weekend, and they're 7 hours ahead of the convention, so it's about to be 9:00 there. So they'll get to it, and like I said, just shoot me a message if you don't see anything. But
Okay.
Thank you guys for taking the time to join in on this stream. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the playtest.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much, man.
Yep.
Really
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. And for anyone who's still streaming, thank you for taking the time to watch. MindClash's Kickstarter will start July 7th. You can find a link to that on their website. I'll try to post it up in the comment section to this video once it goes live On YouTube, it should be pretty constant, pretty immediate for me ending the stream, as well as in our booth for Virtual Game Com to make sure you can sign up for notifications. But thank you for taking the time to watch the stream. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the video link or to find me on VGG or on the convention or here on YouTube. Thank you so much.